Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Creative Arts 25th Time of the Writer Festival. With me is our keynote speaker, Dr. Nokuthula Mazibuko-Msimang. Dr. Nokuthula Mazibuko-Msimang, or Nox as I call her, is an academic, a filmmaker, a broadcaster, and author of 6 books for children. She is also a fellow at the University of Pretoria's Future Africa Research Institute. Daughters of Nandi is her first and debut novel for adults, and I am going to ask her to read from it, but before I ask her to do that, welcome, Nox.
Thank you, Zukiswa Wanner, or Zooks, as I call you.
It's good to have you.
Yes.
And it's good. I was very delighted when I was asked to do this conversation with you.
Likewise, likewise.
Yes. Now, can you start us off with just like a little introduction, Nyana, so that we know what this, a tease, what this book is about? I mean, we're going to have a performance, but I would really like our audience who may not get to see the performance to know what, get a preview. Nje.
Okay, so I'll read from The Daughters of Nandi, just a short excerpt at the beginning of the book. My people, I have no regrets. I, Nandi, Queen of the Zulu nation, have lived a life anointed by the ancestors. I was chosen to birth a king and lead my people. I called him Umlilwana, the fire to warm my heart and hands. But little did I know he would later turn into a flame that would burn brightly, illuminating the future for our nation. He would become an inferno that would rage ferociously for 1 decade, but forever changing the histories of many nations across the African continent. Yes, my son gave me a life like no other. Ushaga kasenza ngakhona.
Thank you very much, Nox, for that inspired reading. How was it? Like, you wrote this during the pandemic, actually. Yes. You know, you started writing it you sent me a copy in August of 2020. 2020, yes. You sent me a very bad version of it in August 2020. But, you know, it said you were doing something. How was it like going through, you know, the process for those of us who are watching and haven't written? And you had written many children's books. So this is...
Well, I had.
Yeah, this was now you doing... adulting, as you will, if we will, as far as novels are concerned.
Yeah.
How was the process of, and what led you to particularly want to tell the story of Unandi in the way that you did?
Well, let me rewind a little bit, Zooks, because as you know, I mean, I had vowed that, you know, I don't want to write for adults because they are set in their ways and they will depart, thankfully, this realm soon. So I wanted to focus my energies on children, right? So for the past 25 years, I was writing for children, you know, and teenagers and so on. But as you know, the story of Queen Nandi haunted me for the longest time, you know, because obviously she looms large in all of our imaginations, you know?
Absolutely.
And all of us have heard of the supposed curse that she left behind, you know, because she was so angry at how the houses of Zulu and Mhlongo treated her, you know. So she was furious and, you know, cursed everybody. But my fascination with her really is because she is clearly a very strong leader to have raised, you know, one of Africa and the world's greatest military generals, you know, because they say, you know, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, right? So I've always been fascinated by Undlovukazi to say, you know, I wish I could just sit down and have a conversation with her, you know, and ask her, you know, what was her life like? What inspired her? And I think, for me, the process of writing the book was my conversation with her to say, how did you feel at how you were treated? How did you manage to carry on? And as you know, hindsight is a great teacher. So I wanted also to see what lessons can we learn, but also how far we as women in different sectors in society have come since the times of Unandi. And, in the 1800s, 200 years later, how are women in leadership? How are women in society treated, and how do they fare?
Okay. And what led you to have this conversation, as you were with Unandi, through the eyes of three different women and three different, which I thought was absolutely clever and beautiful, through the eyes of three different women in three different generations. Kea, who was Mutswana, Uju, and in the 60s in Sophiatown, and later on during the Rhodes and FISMA's fall moments, our very own Amangwe, who I think a lot of university students, whether at University of Pretoria or at UKZN, can relate with. How did you decide that this was your way of Unandi speaking to the people and living through the generations?
Yeah. Whew, Zooks, you make it sound so structured and lovely. And, as the publisher, you were part of the process, so you know the chaos, But for me, I think it really did come in waves. And it's a wonderful way to structure a story, in threes, So one of the ways that you can do that, have a beginning, a middle, and an end, is to have three characters that she interacts with. And because it is 200 years ago, I thought, look, women play different roles, determined also by the environment and the historical time they live in. So it gave me an opportunity to structure the novel, but also to explore different historical times. And as you've mentioned, there is Ukiya in the 1800s and Uju during the removals of Sophiatown, and Amangwe, who is a fallist, and exploring the issues of the day, pertinent issues around education and so on, So it was a structuring device, but it also came to me in how the story was very chaotically unfolding at the beginning, and then through my very two skilled editors, Zukiswa Wanner and Fred Kumalo, it then took shape, and of course I did the workshop. Yeah, with the incredible Mazibuko-Msimang, who is Booker shortlisted. So, several workshops, one with Maza, one with yourself, another one with Fred Kumalo. Those workshops were part of the 2 years of structuring the novel. And ensuring that, the story resonates outside of just my own head,
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many drafts did you have to do? I am messy.
I'm shocked that, we are still able to sit here as friends and have this conversation after the 8 grueling drafts that I did. But, I'm grateful for the time spent working on the novel because, then you take out a book that you are proud of and a story that is able to travel, and that is meaningful beyond just yourself.
And it has traveled, interestingly enough. I know it's in Ghana, it's in Germany as well, it's in Kenya, it's in Zimbabwe, I think Zambia as well. So quite a few African countries, because Nandi was that woman who, spared so many people's imagination. Who is this woman who was mother of Ushaka? Because what's crazy is, in my conversations with some friends who are bookies and historical lovers, they know who Shaka is. They've heard of Unandi. They don't know who Senza Kankona is. They're like, who?
Yeah.
Anyway, But one thing...
And this is before the times of social media. You know, there was no marketing, there was no branding, but they were known all over the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I found fascinating.
Yeah.
The spirit of Nandi in the three women, in the same way that Unandi, she's this powerful, fantastic character, but she also has to deal with the patriarchy of the age.
Yeah.
And even up until Amangwe, we see Amangwe still dealing with that type of patriarchy. And each of the three women, despite being powerful in their own different ways, was there something, a message you were trying to give us, perhaps, as an author?
A message. The message. Look, you know, as you have, you know, just pointed out that, look, you know, I was interested in the character of Nandi as a leader, you know, and I then said, you know, what context was she in? You know, what were the structures that she had to work around and work through, you know? And, you know, with any great protagonist, she wants something, you know, but she's blocked through her journey from getting that something, you know? And Unandi wanted freedom and recognition. You know, she is the mother of one of the greatest leaders of all time, you know, and she didn't receive great treatment, because, you know, women are supposed to be a certain way, and you must not be, you know, larger than the space allocated to you, you know. And as I said, that because I'm looking through the lens of history, you know, it's interesting to see that Uuju, who has the same spirit, and the spirit that lives in all human beings, really, you know, whoever you are, wherever you are, you know, everybody wants to, you know, wants freedom, and everybody wants to live their best lives. But Uuju also has certain constraints, you know, that, you know, people are shocked that, you know, you want to live well.
No, but you know,
why?
the thing about it is, like, I felt distinctly that amongst them, Uuju actually seemed to have a greater freedom, you know, and I don't know whether it had to do with her relationship with Umahamba, you know, her partner. Like, she seemed to have this greater freedom, even as people, you know, as she lived in a patriarchal world in Sophiatown that tried to, like, hold her back. The greatest patriarchy in that particular situation, of course, came from the apartheid police, you know, but in the people around her, there seemed to be a certain respect of her. Whereas with Amangwe, you know, who is a student leader, who has these dreams, who has this ambition, who prompts herself up to go and say, you know what, we want fees to fall and stuff. She gets taken aback by the person who is the most intimate to her. And so I wanted to and then, of course, like, Kia is, like, in between the two of them and stuff. I mean,
she has very supportive parents.
Exactly.
You know, so her father, Khosi Moagi, you know, Khosi Moagi affords Kia the freedom. You know, so she is the daughter of a king. You know, so he clears space for Kia to be. You know, but Uuju just doesn't know that she. She is not, you know, she is supposed to be constrained. Well, she doesn't know it. She doesn't
so
care.
Clearly right. Uuju was a whirlwind, you know.
She doesn't know. She doesn't see the prison that society tries to build around her. She just totally disregards it, you know. Amangwe, on the other hand, strives to really kind of bend society, you know, to say, this is who I am, you know. And she does not at first have the support of Kapela, you know. And Uju has the support of Mahamba, because Mahamba revels in Uju's madness, you know, because she is just, you know, breaking barriers and doing her own thing. And Mahamba loves it, you know. Kapela, on the other hand, is irritated by Amangwe and you know, what this
He's
thing,
like,
you know.
do you know who's the man in this relationship?
Yes, no, Kapela is not coping at all. Shame, poor soul, you know. But Amangwe is determined. She says, look, you know, I don't care how society sees me. I'm going to like a dripping tap. Just keep at it until you see me the way I see myself, you know. So interesting, very different characters. And of course, the tension is whether the curse will be reversed, you know. We don't know, but this is what the regent wants. She wants to remove her anger, you know, at patriarchy, you know, where her justified, I think, anger at patriarchy, but she regrets it in the afterlife. To say, you know, anger begets more anger, you know, so she is trying to reverse it, and we don't know.
I couldn't help while reading through it, at least the very final draft.
Yes.
I couldn't
Draft
help.
number 8.
I couldn't help thinking that in some ways, you know, the curse on the House of Zulu was even more than that, because it was almost a curse on the country of South Africa in a way, because of the way the different historical periods go through. Was that deliberate on your part?
She was angry.
Yeah.
She was angry, you know, and I mean, for every action, there's a reaction. So if you're going to not treat someone well, you know, how will they react, you know? So, I mean, she was angry because she birthed Inkosi Senzangakhonya's firstborn, and she was not afforded that place of being, you know, the mother of the firstborn son. You know, so she was not happy, you know, she was really, really, really angry, justifiably so, you know. But the novel then asks the question that, you know, then what?
Okay.
You know, anger is justifiable. Then what? What happens after?
So she didn't hear about TRC.
Clearly not. Well, then, when she unleashed the torrents of rain, you know, there was no TRC. But you know, yeah. I mean, she was mad. I mean, she was just.
But friend, you were just like busy like during the lockdown, okay? Because you also came out with Kawe, the book on the children's book on Caster Semenya.
Yes.
Can you take us through that? Did you have to go and interview Caster? What did you have to do?
So another really amazing story to write about our hero, Caster Semenya. And again, you know, Caster is incredible. You know, Caster is a superhero, you know. So yes, you know, because I wanted her support in the project, you know, I didn't want it to be, you know, an unauthorized situation. So I, you know, spoke to her manager, who is a friend of mine, Pulani Mutumu. So I said, oh, Pulani, please, you know, you have to organize this. You know, I have to write the story of Caster Semenya, you know, because it's such an interesting moment in time, you know. We've got this gold medalist, you know, she's won many medals, you know, gold, silver, she's won it all, you know. And she's just amazing, you know, so I got to meet her, interview her, and my whole thinking was, you know what, we know Mokadi, the champion. You know, we know her in 2008 already formed, you know. But I was intrigued as a mother to know what goes into
creating a champion.
Yeah. You know, are they born that way? Do they drink special water? You know, what goes into that?
You know, as I remember reading it and thinking, what struck me was, after I finished reading it, I was like, actually, I've never seen Caster without a sweet in the mouth.
She loves sweets.
You know, and it was like, you know, I hadn't thought about it the whole time up until I like read your book, and I'm like, how? Oh, Caster is always having a sarcamos.
Yeah. No, she loves sweets. And, you know, as an athlete, you cannot overdose on sweets. So that's always been one of her challenges, you know, and from her mother to her kuku, they're like, oh, what Caster? You know, you can't just be, you know, eating sweets and sweets and sweets because you're an athlete, you know, you need to drink the water and eat healthy stuff, you know. So those were some of the challenges, and I write about it in the book, you know, just, you know, when you're 8 years old, you know, you want to do what you want to do. You know, you don't want to clean your room. You don't want to do the dishes and, you know, but already at that age, she had to manage herself, manage her time, and get in the training from the age of 8, you know. And you're a mother, Zooks, you know 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
And
No, I
discipline.
have forgotten.
You forgot.
I have forgotten, friend. I'm like, I don't want to remember.
But imagine an 8-year-old waking up at 5 in the morning to train. You know, organize the house, do the dishes before going to school, get to school, do your schoolwork, do your homework, and still, you know, have to train, you know, with a coach and so on. So she is incredible. I mean, she is next level discipline, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, it was wonderful talking to her. She's an amazing, amazing, amazing person.
I think I want to come back to this, and the reason I want to come back to it is in your keynote, you mentioned the musicality of Maza Mengistu's The Shadow King, who, as we already mentioned, you did a workshop with. And there is a musicality that comes in this particular book as well. Was that always there? Because to be honest, I've forgotten. Or was that something that after the workshop with Maza came about, or was it, you know, because we are a musical people anyway. So what led to that?
Well, I write to music, and I think probably at the beginning it was a little too musical and repetitive, and the editors cut out a lot of that musicality and the repetition, you know. So I think I probably at the beginning went a little too overboard with repetition. And, you know, of course, African storytelling, you know, the role of a rhythm in revelation is key, you know. So the rhythm drives the story forward, functions as emphasis. So in Maza's The Shadow King, you know, she uses the device of the chorus, you know, and it's very poetic. It's really, you know, melancholic. It's beautiful, you know, how she really uses that eye of the chorus, you know. And I, of course, reflect a lot on Queen Nandi's thoughts. So she talks to herself, you know, to the characters, but I had to listen to the rhythm of her voice, you know, and just to the rhythm of the sadness, I think, which in some parts drives the story forward. And the rhythm changes, of course, in the parts where she's humorous and teasing the characters, you know. And the rhythm of the madness of an Uju, for example, because she's in Sophiatown, right? So she is, you know, the rhythm changes, you know. So there's a lot of kind of jazzy words and the slang from Sophiatown and so on. So the rhythm and the music and the pace changes across the ages to reflect the times. What did you have to do very differently as you went through the edits? Because I remember one of the things was a reference to certain names from Fred during an edit where he said, "Nah, this is not a name from those days," you know. So beyond the names, was there anything that you had to, you know, do distinctly differently as you went through the edits up until the end? Well, there was some, I think just story lines which were problematic. And I think in my kind of very rose-tinted, I think, view of the continent, you know, I ignored certain truths around, you know, slavery that was going on in the Swahili coast and so on. And again, the editors had to step in and say, look, the way you've written this particular... the way you've written this particular kind of part of the story is historically incorrect, you know. So I had to, just in terms of historical facts, be clear that I was not just veering off course, you know. And I think, again, the workshop with Maza helped me in that you have to be careful not to write a history textbook, you know, because now you are stuck on facts, you know. And you also removed a lot of that, you know, because I was, you know, wanting to include, you know, Berlin in the 1800s and what was going on and the carving up of Africa and the, you know, all of the facts, you know. So it's important not to go too far in one direction, trying to get historical truths and get all of that right, or too far in, just completely telling untruths, unless maybe as a writer, there's a particular point you're making by doing that. But it's a delicate balance.
It's a balance that you have to make.
Yeah.
The festival theme is beyond words, memory, imagination, conscience.
Yeah.
And you referenced very early on in your keynote Chief Luthuli and his book, Let My People Go.
Yeah.
And Chief Luthuli was a politician who wrote a book, but is there, for writers, is there a place to go beyond words? Are we called on to have a conscience, or are we just, we're artists and, word for word's sake and art for art's sake?
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, look, writers are people. They exist in society's institutions, First and foremost, I read books for pleasure. I enjoy myself. But books are a mirror. They exist in a place and time, and I find that for myself, they help me to make sense of the world and help to influence the world. So, I mean, I would feel a little bit, I think...
Some kind of way.
I feel some type of way if I've spent 2 years, writing pure air, I think in the 2 years that you spend, yes, you are entertaining yourself and hopefully entertaining the reader, but you're also, a person alive in society, and I think a life well lived is a life that gives some value to society, but I don't think we are preachers of the gospel. We are first and foremost
artists,
entertainers of readers. So you need to always remember that. And as you know, I love to preach. So I love to preach, but it won't be entertaining. It won't be, if you want to preach, there is a place called church.
Okay, all right.
And
I think this comes up because there've been now and again criticism in literature of, say, in fiction, where they say, oh my God, this character is politically incorrect, they're sexist, they're this and that. Is it more important for writers to be mirrors to society, or is it more important for them to say the correct things? So, for instance, if you're in a society that uses a certain word and you decide that you're going to use that word in fiction as opposed to maybe like a more palatable word, How does that work? What do you think?
I would have to get the book and read it, and I think that's the work really of literary criticism, where you then assess the work in its own merits, So, I mean, I pick up a book, I read it, and I enjoy it or not enjoy it. I get something out of it or I don't get something out of it, And I think as writers, you need that freedom, Some people, may want to write about, whatever, a trip to Dubai, dancing up a storm, whatever you want to write about it, it's a free world as far as your own creativity and what you want to put out in the world. And of course, readers will judge you,
What would Nokuthula Mazibuko-Msimang not write about?
What would I not write about? Hi, Zooks, that's a difficult question. I mean, I don't know, because as I said, my process of writing is chaotic, So I write about what I'm interested in. I was interested in the story of Caster Semenya, and I went in search of the story. I was interested in the story of Indlovukazi, and I went, and at the moment, as you mentioned earlier, that I am a fellow at UP, and I'm researching the story of the incredible Doli Rathebe, So I write about, what interests me. I write books that I want to read,
Okay.
I would love to read a Dolly Ratebe biography, so I write a Dolly Ratebe biography.
Okay.
You
No,
know,
the
and-
reason I'm asking that is, there has been amongst in fiction every now and again accusations towards writers of a
Yeah.
certain type of, say, cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And my take on that has always been, I think, when somebody is accused of cultural appropriation,
Yeah.
it's not so much that you should stop writing about, say, well, because I'm closer, I shouldn't write about Amazulu or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's more about if I'm not representative of whatever and I don't do enough of that research, then I can be accused of cultural appropriation. If I decide to write about Vavenda, for instance, I should be able to do that, but I need to just make sure that I get the things right. But what is your take on that?
No, look, even myself as Nokuthula Mazibuko-Msimang, a person who speaks isiZulu, who knows the culture, I can be guilty of, writing characters that, don't respect that world, So I think what you said is key, that do your research and respect your story, respect the characters.
The characters' stories.
So it doesn't matter who you are, but if you have not done the work, people will see through it. People will see through it. And that's a beautiful thing about art, that you can't really, hide it. A beautiful work of art is a beautiful work of art, and people will vote.
Mediocrity is mediocrity.
People will see it. Readers will see it. You will not hoodwink them. So to do the proper work, and don't, as our good friend Sipho Mahala says, don't microwave write things, Don't microwave write. So do a proper job of really immersing yourself in the world of the character, so that, they are like, proper. And they have the textures, the layers, and are interesting enough for somebody to spend their money on the book and to spend the hours reading.
Okay. And what's next for you? I mean, you are here at you're at the Futures of Africa, but what is next for you? What are you doing? Are there any projects that we should hear about that are exciting, or are you writing another adult novel or 20 other children's books?
I don't know. Am I? Yeah. I like your question. It assumes that I'm so organized. It's lovely that I'm planning ahead. In the next 5 years, I will have produced. Zooks, look, I'm still just, in the chaos of the current, Dolly Ratebe biography that I'm writing.
Oh, fantastic! How far are you with that?
Look, I will be reading a chapter actually at Javits on the 2nd of April. So, the writing is going fairly well, delving into Dolly Ratebe's life. And my focus really is on the musical life of Dolly Ratebe, because
not the drum life.
Not the wonderful
not the drum life.
The wonderful drum pinup life. A lot of people know her, of course, as a drum pinup, as a movie star. Africa's first mega movie star. But I wanted to focus more on Dolly Ratebe, the composer. She composed quite a few
hits.
Yes, quite a
many
few
of them
hits.
that were done by Miriam Makeba.
Many of them, really kind of
just
popularized,
went international.
International, thanks to the amazing Miriam Makeba. So I wanted to focus on Mam Dolly's compositions, and to share it especially with the younger generation, because a lot of, we know Dolly Ratebe, and we know the story of the 50s, the whole kind of renaissance that happened around the books, you know, the drum writers, you know, the
Sophia Town,
musicians,
everything.
Sophia Town, and, you know, the politics of the 50s. We know all of that. But younger people may not necessarily know, you know, that much about Dolly Ratebe. They know Miriam Makeba, you know, who is world famous. But remember, Umam Dolly didn't go into exile, stayed home, and balanced, you know, home and music, continued to perform right through, you know, into her 70s, you know, with the elite swingsters. But she's not as well known as Miriam Makeba, you know. But I've always been just enchanted, you know, with the iconic image of, you know, Umam. So that's what I'm working on. And we'll see, you know, where that, you know, process takes us.
Okay, that's. I look forward to that, and I might just suggest that for the launch. Since I know you're a runner and stuff, maybe you can do the pin-up and channel your inner Dolly, sister.
I think maybe not. I might sing a Mom Dolly Ratebe song, but I shall do no channeling of that nature. But I will sing. I will sing a song.
That would be absolute. And when can we expect that out?
Zukiswa
I mean, no pressure.
When indeed? Watch the space.
Okay, all right,
Watch
fantastic.
The space.
I'll have to take that, I guess. Right. Is there? I think we've pretty much spoken about everything that's fascinating. And how long are you at the Futures of Africa?
Well, I'm at the Future Africa Research Institute. It's a 2-year fellowship. Yeah, so I'm around for 1 more year.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been really, really, you know, a pleasure and an honor to be here, to be afforded the space. I mean, you know, as a writer, researcher yourself, you know, just to have the space to think, to have the space to research is a real, you know, privilege and a luxury. So I've enjoyed the first year and look forward to presenting.
To seeing what comes.
To presenting, you know, in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you presenting? Oh, so the
chapter, yeah. So I thought, look, let me just test, you know,
the waters.
Let me test the waters and see how people respond.
All right.
So yeah.
Thank you very much, Nokuthula Mazibuko-Msimang. It has been lovely chatting with you. This has been beautiful. This has been fun.
Thank you.
This has been insightful.
Wanner.
And thank you. I am Zukiswa Wanner, and this is for Time of the Writer, 25th Time of the Writer, where Nokuthula was our keynote.
Thank you, Zukiswa Wanner.